Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 224 of the Nigerian Football Weekly podcast. I'm your host, Olu. Okay, today I'm coming to you live from London, 7 p.m. UK time, 1 hour before Arsenal play Brentford. So today we're going to have a more concise show. Keep it to 1 hour so we could all go enjoy the Gunners playing. Shout out to everybody for the support. Just to quickly do the housekeeping. Thanks for every support so far. Thanks for everybody liking, sharing, watching, subscribing. We appreciate it all. Shout out to all our new members and anybody that's just taking the time to support the channel and what we do here on Nigeria Football Weekly. I'm sure everyone's enjoyed all the football that's taken place over the midweek. So for today's episode, we're going to quickly do a review of the Premier League games that have been taking place over the last 2 days. Of course, we have the final game being played today, which is Arsenal, which I am buzzing and excited for. I will also try to see if I can sit down for an episode for a change. We'll see how that works out. But really excited to get into it. After that, we're going to touch on the FA Cup games involving Nigerian players, and then we'll touch on the other FA Cup game previews, and then the usual picks, top picks outside of England to watch before the ones to watch, and then community calling discussion. So without any further ado, what's happened today? On Wednesday. So yesterday we saw a bunch of the Nigeria boys play in the Premier League. It was game week 26. So we're getting to the crucial part of the season. 12 games left after this game week. We of course know that the Fulham boys were in action at the Etihad playing against Man City. Unfortunately for them, they got absolutely thrashed 3-0 by Man City. Erling Haaland was on one and was feeling himself. Shout out to Felix for joining the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat, in the comments. Please like the video. Please share. Please subscribe. And honestly, it was not the best game for the Fulham boys, but I mean, what do you expect? You know, Man City look like they finally hit a stride where they're purring towards the end of the season, as they tend to do in most seasons. And you have to say that yesterday was just a masterclass in the better team beating the smaller team. That's just the honest truth of what it was. I mean, literally from the first minute of this game, Semenyo, I know we've been clamoring about Bassey coming back into the starting lineup, and we know that Bassey's the best defender in Africa. But every so often, Calvin Bassey has these games that make you think, can we delete those tapes from your highlight reel, please? And I have to admit, today was one of those days. Yesterday was one of those days. I mean, the first goal, you literally have Bassey coming back and starting lineup and playing Semenyo onside. Like, literally, the defensive awareness was just a bit poor. I mean, to be fair, it was from a corner kick. But when you're the last line of the defense and you're center back, at least try to look through your line and see where you need to step up. So that was quite unfortunate for Calvin Bassey. And next thing you know, they were 1-0 down. As if that was not enough, we then saw Semenyo tear through their team again, receive a ball from Nico O'Reilly. Nico O'Reilly then slipped it back into him. But if you watch Bassey, he was not tracking the run of Nico O'Reilly. Although, to be fair, maybe that's slightly harsh, but it's also because of his pace. So there was a bit of a struggle there for Bassey, and he just couldn't catch up with Nico O'Reilly, who was able to just dink the ball past the Fulham goalkeeper, past Ben Leno. So that was it. It was already 2-0. As if it could not get any worse, go and watch Erling Haaland's goal to make it 3-0. He fired this ball through Bassey's toros, as we say in Nigeria, through the legs of Bassey, for those who don't know what that phrase means. And that was literally the end of the game. Man City just destroyed them. Fulham had one or two chances, particularly Harry Wilson, but they didn't really look like scoring, and we just have to charge this game. Charge it to the game. Sometimes as a mid-table Prem side, just say, you know what, we played one of the best teams in the world, and we got our asses handed out to us, and that's it. And keep it moving. So that's exactly what happened to the Fulham boys. But on a positive note, we saw all the Nigerian players start the match. So that's good. And hopefully we'll see Bassey start when they play in the FA Cup over the weekend. As for the Nottingham Forest and Wolves boys, we saw Nottingham Forest host Wolverhampton at the City Ground, and they had a very disappointing 0-0 draw. As a result of the draw, Sean Dyche has been sacked, which means Nottingham Forest are now on to their fourth manager of the season. You know, when you think about, didn't they start with Nuno? Then they had Vitor Pereira. They've just been going through crazy stuff, Nottingham Forest, because Marinakis is a bit of a nutter of an owner. And we're seeing that play out. You know, this game was even so unlucky because what do you mean Arsenal drew with Nottingham Forest away? And then Wolves also drew 0-0 with Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest absolutely battered Wolverhampton on paper. Like, make no mistake about it. And Aina started the game, but they just couldn't put the ball through the net. That was it. In fact, Arokodare also started and played in Mane, the other striker, for an opportunity for him to score towards the end of the game. But yet again, these are just, there's a reason these two teams are in the bottom four. Let's just put it that way. The lack of quality is outstanding. You know, when you just look at the finishing, especially in the final third, that's why you pay the big bucks to the attackers and the strikers. And a lot of the big teams always snap up the best players. And this game was perfect evidence of what we could say. You know, it's such a shame because Awoniyi wasn't on new sub yet again. So he's barely played since he scored his first Premier League goal in the season. But we'll see who Nottingham Forest. Actually, I take that back. It's been confirmed that they will hire Victor Pereira, who was ironically at Wolves at the start of the season, and of course saved Wolves from relegation last season when he had Cunha and Strand Larsen. So you see these bottom barrel teams, they just keep recycling each other's managers and seeing what could stick. But not a good performance. About not the right result, even though it was a decent performance from Nottingham Forest. But at least Aina and Arokodare started. As for Crystal Palace, I think Crystal Palace are in trouble because they have a manager who's clearly checked out. Oliver Glasner's. How often do you see a manager announce he's going to leave a club at the end of the season? It's usually in a club where he has far more power than, you know, even, or he's too good for the club. Let's put it that way. Oliver Glasner's won an FA Cup for Palace, their first trophy in their history. He also won the Europa League with Eintracht Frankfurt a few years ago, where he beat Joe Aribo's Rangers at the time. So you can see that he's just fed up of their bullshit. And he's like, you know what? I'm leaving in the summer. And when you watch this same Crystal Palace team trying to push towards Europe, I know they have to play a Conference League game, lose at home by 3-2 to Burnley. It's only Burnley's 4th win of the season. That's when you know that there's some big problems brewing at Crystal Palace, you know. I guess the positive note is we saw Christantus Uche come on in the 83rd minute. So for him, at least he got some minutes in this game. There was an opportunity where he tried to head the ball back into play in the final kick of the game, but he wasn't able to really influence or do much in the game in 7 minutes. You know, when you look at this game, Strand Larsen scored 2 goals literally in the first 20 minutes. Fantastic goals. First goal, Wharton played the ball in behind, smashed the ball past the goalkeeper. Second goal, fantastic header as well. But all of a sudden, Palace just lost the plot. Like Hannibal Medri scored an equalizer. And then potential Super Eagles prospect, Leslie Ugochukwu, I know we're looking at him. He played in Jaden Anthony, who then made it 2-2. As if it cannot get worse, and to really buttress my point about Palace going through things, we then saw them concede an own goal to lose the match. I urge you to go and watch the highlights. Just check out the own goal that Crystal Palace conceded at home. And this was all in the first half, by the way. So shout out to Scott Parker for getting the win. You know, shout out to Leslie Ugochukwu. Maybe you end up playing for Nigeria and we'll start tracking you on this channel. But ultimately, at least Uche played some minutes. But we have to say that yet again, their winless run continues. They've still not won a game since the beginning of December. That's 2 months ago. I even have a feeling that if I'm Crystal Palace's chairman, I'm probably considering just pulling the plug and telling Glasner, look, we know you're not here anyway, so we might as well start our rebuild now. But they have to be careful not to get dropped into the relegation battle. So that's the one thing that they need to just be careful about. So that was the tale of the tape involving Nigerian players in the Premier League on Wednesday. We didn't see any of our boys play on Tuesday because Newcastle beat Tottenham by 2-1. Of course, we all watched this game because Thomas Frank subsequently got the sack. You know, shout out to you, Thomas Frank. We could tell you're a closet Arsenal fan. You know, apparently, I read on the Athletic that Tottenham players were so annoyed at how often he compared them to Arsenal. It's like, mate, we're just the gold standard in North London and London. Like, that's not our fault, you know? So, but you have to say that was really bad stuff, man. Like, what a great goal by Jacob Ramsey to make it 2-1. You know, Tottenham, the less said, the better, honestly. Like, I hope you've even seen Ange Postecoglou's interview on The Overlap today, where he was talking about how unambitious they are, by the way. So that was an interesting thing to mention. Apart from that, we saw Chelsea draw against Leeds United 2-2 at home. Cole Palmer obviously missed that last-minute sitter. But João Pedro, I must say, is looking pretty good. And Palmer as well. But Chelsea, you see, if you want to compete for the titles, you have to win these games. That's just the honest truth, you know. So that was what we saw. Bournemouth continued their fantastic remontada this season. Ryan looks incredible. Kubi Jr. still looks incredible. And they managed to get a win at the Hill Dickinson Stadium on Tuesday night as well. And then we saw Man United escape the London Stadium with the last-minute draw through Benjamin Sesko scoring a fantastic finish, it must be said. But West Ham were very unlucky to lose the game. They had, to draw the match. It felt like a loss, it must be said. They had so many opportunities to kill the game when it was 1-0 1-0 up already, but they just couldn't find that killer goal. Thomas Tuchel put them up 1-0. But Shesko, it must be said, fair play to United's resilience to bring it back and make sure that the game ended 1-1. Well, as for that United fan that we all know about, he has to go back to the drawing board and keep that his haircut. I mean, fair play to the guy for all the famous people that know him now, So better luck next time. Let's see if United can finally at least try and attempt to win 5 games in a row, and we will be here. And then, of course, we spoke about the games involving the Nigerian boys, which were 3 of the games yesterday. The only game that did not involve a Nigerian player was at Villa Park, as Aston Villa, courtesy of a Tyrone Mings, ended up being an own goal, but Tyrone Mings' header led to the own goal as Aston Villa got back to winning ways and won the game 1-0 to maintain their faltering but still surviving title charge. And of course, forgive me, Liverpool beat Sunderland 1-0, courtesy of a Virgil van Dijk goal. Egitike, why'd you miss so many chances, man? You're my FPL. That was not good at all, man. I didn't like that one at all. And then, of course, in literally just over 45 minutes, we're going to see Arsenal play Brentford. I'm really excited for this one. In fact, I think we have to win this match. If we don't win this match, I know a lot of Arsenal fans have been worried over the past 3 years, but let me tell you, when I will start having deja vu and fear is if we don't win today. The good news is if you check our record against Brentford, apart from the first season they got promoted where they beat us 2-0, where ironically Christian Nogard scored against us, we've always beaten Brentford at their stadium. I think last year we even beat them courtesy of Gabriel Jesus, I think before he got his injury, So fear not, Gunners. Although when I look at the lineup, you have to say that, Eze, you have to bring it today. Madueke, you got to bring it today. Trossard, you got to bring it today. Gyökeres, please continue this good goal scoring run because we have to win. City have now closed the gap to 3 points. So we don't want squeaky bum time, especially because our next 3 games, including today, are all away games. After Brentford today, we have to play our rearranged Wolves away fixture next week, Wednesday. And then we've got the North London derby to literally partake in next week, Saturday. Of course, we know the FA Cup is happening this weekend, but so many away games coming. So we need to rack up the wins as soon as possible. So anyway, what's the tail of the tape with the table? Like I said, Arsenal have 56 points. If we win today, we go to 59 points and we'll maintain our 6-point lead. But for now, that's not been done. City and Villa have finally crossed the 50-point barrier. Villa have 50 points and City are 3 points ahead of them with 53 points. And then we've saw Man United, even with their draw, maintain 4th place with the 1-point lead over Chelsea in 5th. And Chelsea have a 2-point lead over Liverpool despite their win. So very interesting stuff to play for. It's quite interesting that if Brentford actually win tonight by over 2 goals, they will go above Liverpool to 6th spot. But I would like to believe that will not be the case. So let's see what goes on. As for Tottenham, they are now just 5 points safe from relegation zone. Shame West Ham drew the match. It would have been only 3 points. And I'm not going to lie to you. A part of me, it's football. Football, you're allowed to hate with your chest. A part of me would like to see Tottenham get relegated with that nice stadium. I think that would be one for the books. So let's see what happens there. But our Niger boys are doing all right. We've got the Fulham boys in 12th. We've got Uche in 13th, and then we've got Nottingham Forest boys in 17th. So quite mid-table, but look, better days are coming. Osimhen, you see why I want you to move to a top 6 side in the Prem, like Lookman has done in La Liga. Anyway, good luck to you. So that's it in terms of Premier League games. Now, the only other game that Nigerian players took part in over the midweek that involved Nigerian players was in the Coppa Italia. So in Italy, we saw Fisayo Dele-Bashiru's Lazio play Bologna away in the Coppa Italia quarterfinal to book a spot in the semi-final. The good news about this is Lazio were able to prevail and won the game on penalties by 4 goals, 4 penalties scored to 1. The good news for me and to see Fisayo Dele-Bashiru back in action was the fact that he got the assist for Lazio's equalizer. We saw Cellini miss from penalty spot. Bologna went 1-0 up in the first half. And then we saw Fisayo Dele-Bashiru play an excellent cross. He played as a right winger in this game. Fantastic cross for Noslin to literally, he couldn't miss. He literally just had to tap into an empty net. So really positive to see for Fisayo Dele-Bashiru. He played the full game, which is another positive. And I'm just very, very glad to see some positivity come his way. He deserves it. And he was also very graceful to us when we met him in Morocco. So I have a lot of time for FDB, as you guys know, on this channel. So now they're in the semi-final and they'll play Atalanta for a spot in the final. I know Inter are one of the teams in the other semi-final, so that'll be a tricky one for him to navigate. So let's see how that goes. But congratulations to Fisayo. And then also we will see, since we're still talking about midweek, at the same time Arsenal's game is kicking off, we will see Atletico Madrid's game kick off tonight. They are playing Barcelona in the first leg of the Copa del Rey semi-final, literally tonight. Lookman is actually starting the game as a winger, which is interesting. So he's not playing as a front two with Griezmann or Alvarez. He's actually starting as a left midfielder. Let's see if this is Simeone's way of turning him into a left midfielder / defensive stalwart, but hopefully that won't be the case. You know, we've seen Giuliano Simeone play and score quite a decent amount of goals or get assists from right midfield. So let's see what Lookman looks like when he's positioned on that part of the pitch for today. His previous games for Atletico Madrid, he started as a front two. The first game alongside Griezmann this time last week when they thrashed Betis 5-0. And then over the weekend when they lost to Betis, he ended up starting as a... he started with Alvarez up front. So let's see how this game goes. Very, very exciting. And these are the kind of games that we want to see our players involved in. You know, when you watch... Yamal versus Lookman, you know, almost starting. Ferran Torres is playing, Casado, Fermin, Frankie de Jong. So even though I'll be watching Arsenal for full transparency, I will keep my eye out on how our players are getting on and how Lookman is performing in that game. So really exciting, and let's see how that game goes. So that's it in terms of the midweek review. Before I go through the quick previews for the weekend, I just want to address the question I saw on TikTok. Shout out to Mousy. Mousy said, thoughts on Carney Chukwueze choosing Austria. Honestly, I saw the news yesterday on the Athletic. So for anyone who's not aware, the Athletic mentioned that Carney Chukwueze and the Austrian FA are working towards switching his allegiance from England to Austria on ahead of the World Cup. I mean, to be honest with you, like, he was born in Austria and it's a free world. He has the right to do what he wants to do. Me personally, I haven't seen him do enough in his club career for us to really be pursuing him yet, if we're being brutally honest. Yes, he had a good England under-20 tournament in Euros maybe 2-3 years ago, but this is a player who's a bencher for Borussia Dortmund. He has moments where he's shown signs of life, but not enough or on a consistent basis enough for us to be like, oh my God, he must play for us. We know he's a talented player and he has a lot of time on his hands because he's still relatively young. In fact, how old is he? I don't think he's more than... He can't be more than 22. That'll be my guess. Yeah, exactly 22. Just turned 22 in October. And look, the way I see it is if he goes to play for Austria, it's a bit short-sighted. Austria are about to play in their first World Cup in 28 years for a reason. They have not played a World Cup since 1998. And they don't even qualify for Euros that often. Yes, they made the last one, but I think they just about qualified out of the round of 16 and then got knocked out. You know, because I remember Arnautovic playing. So if he feels Austrian, I mean, who are we to tell him not? I think it's short-sighted, though, because he might be looking at the World Cup now and thinking, okay, what can I do? I don't know if the Alabas of the world have been in touch. But if I was him, I would wait and bide my time, to be honest. But when the Athletic put that kind of report out, it means that he's more likely already going to go ahead with the switch. So we wish him well. Look, he's not a Biri, is he, that will be crying over spilled milk. He's not Nwaneri in terms of, you know, the potential. But he's a very good player, but he needs to do a lot more for us to be convinced about his quality to actually improve the Super Eagles. Especially because now we know our cam is Lookman. If you're not better than Lookman, or you're not better than the Christantus Uches of the world, or even a Chukwueze who can play as a number 10, then with all due respect, we don't really need you. We want as many players, but I don't think Chukwuemeka is someone that we should really be crying over. Like, there's enough players. There's even Franz Suyeka in Germany, currently playing for Bochum in the second division in Bundesliga. So we'll keep with what we have, and then we'll see what shakes out over the next few years for us in terms of players representing the Super Eagles. Okay, so now for the weekend preview. Like I said, this weekend there is no Premier League football. It's all about the FA Cup fourth round. So there are 16 ties and 32 teams left in the FA Cup. You know, the 16 teams that advance will then go into the fifth round before we see the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. Of course, everybody knows Arsenal are the kings of the FA Cup, but everybody would like to win it this season. I think all the big boys are still in it, except Manchester United, who got knocked out in the last round. So Nigerian players, quickly, just to touch on the FA Cup games. We will see Jaribo literally get an immediate returns place outside. Leicester played Southampton literally 2 days ago. Leicester were winning the game 3-0 and somehow contrived to lose the game by 4-3 at home. Honestly, go watch the highlights. They literally should slap all the players for being so terrible. It was that bad. And Joribo came from Southampton to Leicester literally this time last week, or at the end of the deadline day, like 10 days ago. So he needs to find a way to go back and get some revenge on his former employers, because they've literally dunked on you. They came to the King Power and beat you by 4-3. And they scored 3 of those goals in the last 10 minutes of the game. Leicester, what is going wrong? Yes, you got deducted 6 points, but you cannot go to League One. So fix up. So the good news is the FA Cup is a good reprieve from them to just focus on another tournament and try to get some good endorphins and dopamine into the squad. I mean, this one is going to be so annoying. And the irony is, from what we've even seen, we're not sure if he could play against Southampton because he's on loan. So he's probably cup-tied. So, in fact, it's an interesting one. But I will probably expect Leicester to find a way to get some revenge from their opponents and see what happens. So we'll see how it goes. Shout out to Jackson. Thanks for joining the chat. Much love, bro. We're just waiting for the Arsenal game, trying to get through the chat. We just did a quick rundown of all the Premier League games that have gone, that happened on Tuesday and Wednesday involving Nigerian players, as well as Fisayo Dele-Bashiru getting an assist for Lazio ahead of them making the Coppa Italia semi-final after they beat Bologna in penalties yesterday. And then we just spoke about Lookman playing against Barcelona literally tonight, same time against Arsenal. So I'm just doing the FA Cup previews. Okay, so the good news about the Fulham boys is even though they got thrashed 3-0 by Man City, they have the opportunity for respite. They will literally be playing away against Stoke. I mean, remember all the conversation about a cold night in Stoke, but that's not necessarily the case this time, although it'll be cold over there. Fulham will be feeling confident playing against the mid-table championship side, that's for sure. And they need to bounce back after the humbling at the Etihad. So I think this is a game where we'll definitely see some of our players play at least some minutes. I think he'll rotate the squad, so I don't expect Iwobi to start. I would like to see Bassey start because he needs to get legs in his minutes. You can see by the goals considered by against Man City on Wednesday that he needs to take some time to just get himself back match fit. So let's see Bassey play. Chukwueze, it's hard to say if he'll start or not right now, but let's see what Marco Silva decides to do. But my prediction for this is Fulham to not be upset and to get a routine 2-0 victory. Shout out to Charles. I'm doing very good. Thanks for joining the chat. Shout out to Jackson. Shout out to everybody watching. Just to get everybody know, I'm keeping this one short so we can watch Arsenal. So it'll be an hour only. But let me just get through the chat and then we'll get to the community and anything anyone wants to talk on. Even if it's on the Arsenal game, that'll be amazing because it's a must win. Also, we'll see Tolu Arokodare in action in FA Cup. This is where he comes alive. He's about to play Grimsby Town. I mean, Arokodare needs some goals, man. I don't think he has 2 Prem goals and I think 4 goals in total for Wolves. So this is an opportunity for him to at least let him get to 5. You know, Grimsby Town are one of the lower league sides. They're in the 3rd division. So there's really no excuse for him to not play or score. There's a world where he may be rested since he's now the main striker, but I would expect him to play some minutes in this game. And we know that they're terrible in the Prem and they're going straight to the Championship. But is there a world where they could get some, you know, just good vibes in the fan base just by doing well in the FA Cup? And you must say that you would expect them to make it to the 5th round of the FA Cup. So let's see what happens in this one. And I'm predicting a Wolves 3-0 victory or 3-1 victory. Although Wolverhampton could also be surprised. That will not be that surprising because, as Jackson just correctly pointed out, in the FA Cup, there's always an upset. The key is to make sure it's not your team. You basically want to treat the FA Cup like we treat AFCON. AFCON, there's always going to be a surprise. Although this last AFCON, it was minimal. But the key is to make sure your team is not one of the teams that's been upset. So that's exactly what we're hoping for. And hopefully Arokodare's team will not be one of the ones to get put through the ringer unexpectedly. Also, we'll see Brightside Samuel in action in the FA Cup. Shout out to him for his interview with Omar Katuba. That was a really good interview. Osai Samuel played a few minutes for Birmingham in their last game out, but they're playing Leeds United at St. Andrews in the FA Cup. This is a big tie. Obviously, they're mid-table in the Championship. They're 10th, and they're playing Leeds, have been doing pretty well in the Prem. And I think Leeds are currently 14th, if I'm not mistaken. 15th, sorry. So what does this look like in terms of what we can expect? They're facing Leeds, but we know that if there's any opportunity for Birmingham to win, it's the fact that they have home advantage. But you still know that Leeds are the superior side, especially with how stop-start Birmingham have been in the Championship. However, A win would be a fantastic result for Sai Samuel, and I'm hoping that he would start this game, even though he's not always a guaranteed starter. So let's see if that could be the case for Bright on the game on Sunday at 1 p.m. Nigeria time. This one is hard to predict, but let's make it spicy. Let's say it's gonna be a 1-1. Let's go 1-1. And then someone win on pens because they've eliminated the FA Cup replays, which I think is a good thing, especially if you support one of the biggest sides in the country. So let's see how that game goes. In terms of finally, we'll see Chuba Akpom's Ipswich play against Wrexham away. This is literally championship versus championship, and that game will be played tomorrow, 8:45 p.m. around the same time when Chelsea are playing. Ipswich are third in the championship. They're doing pretty well. Kieran McKenna stayed there, and they're 7 points above Wrexham. Wrexham are currently sixth and looking on course to make the playoffs for the championship. So that's pretty remarkable when you consider where they were 5 years ago, where the two Hollywood guys bought them. I mean, imagine Wrexham in the Prem. We also want to track Otto Okonkwo, so this will be a good game to see what Okonkwo is like when the bright lights are on him, especially in a much more well-televised game. So let's see what happens in that case. Akpom doesn't really start games for Ipswich, but it comes on the later part of the game. So it's likely he will start off the bench. But we know Okonkwo will definitely start in this match. So let's see what happens in that game. So those are the ones involving our Nigerian players. And let's see how they all fare over the weekend starting from tomorrow. Other FA Cup games to be aware, as Jackson has rightfully pointed out, we have the Aston Villa versus Newcastle game. That game will be played on Saturday, 6:45 p.m. Nigeria time. I do agree that'll be a tasty game to watch, and I've also put it on my radar to make sure I watch that game. I think that'll be a fun one. Other games to watch out for in the FA Cup, Chelsea. I know you Chelsea fans are reeling after your draw against Leeds, but hey, you guys are basically a top 4 team right now, and just accept it. Over here in London, we don't really accept that or nonsense world champions tag. I noticed in Nigeria, they love to call Chelsea fans love to say we're the world champions. It's like, mate, too much chip on your dip. In England, we don't care about no bloody Club World Cup that Infantino put together in the space of 1 year. And we didn't know the rules of qualifying until he created the rules. And then all of a sudden, you play a tournament, Liverpool's not there, Barcelona's not there, Arsenal's not there, like Juventus are not there. You say that the winner. Good luck to all involved. Anyway, they play Hull City away next tomorrow. Shemi Ajayi is still injured, so he will not play that game for Hull City. But you would expect Chelsea to win this game. On Saturday, we'll see West Ham go away to play Burton 1:15 p.m. And then Burnley host Mansfield 4 p.m. They'll be feeling good after beating Palace at Sellers Park. Manchester City play fellow Manchester side, Salford. This is a great game because I'm sure you guys all know who owns Salford. It is Gary Neville and co, the United boys. So I'm sure they'll be very excited to go to the Etihad to play such a high-profile fixture. But to be honest, you'd expect Man City to absolutely batter them, even with a second-string lineup. Norwich hosts West Brom in an all-championship affair at 4 p.m. as well. Port Vale also hosts Bristol City. I believe Port Vale are now in League One or League Two, while Bristol City are in League One after getting relegated last year. And then Liverpool hosts Brighton at Anfield 9 p.m. tomorrow. I mean, on Saturday. That should be a very interesting game. And then on Sunday, we'll see Oxford United host Sunderland at Oxford United 3 p.m. And then 5:30 p.m. Nigeria time, we will see Arsenal host Wigan at the Emirates Stadium, which will be our last home game of any kind at the Emirates for February. Like I said, our next 3 Prem games as Arsenal are all away. So it was supposed to be just 2, Brentford away today, and then Tottenham away next week, Saturday. But because we qualified for the Carling Cup final, the game we were supposed to play that weekend, which would have been Wolverhampton away, has been moved to next week, Wednesday, on the 18th. So Arsenal have 3 straight away games. So it's very, very, very crucial that we start with the win today before we go and play Wolves. And of course, the North London derby, where Tottenham will be looking for a new manager bounce. But I'm fairly hopeful that that will not be the case and we will continue to pace them. Hopefully. Let's see. The amount of teams that have tried to get new manager bounce on Arsenal this season is so interesting. I saw Arteta's press conference where it was like, it's not the first time he's going to have to play someone with the new manager. So we'll figure things out, and I'm sure he will do just that. Yes, Jackson, as you said, I do hope Arsenal and Eze plays well today. He's in need of a big, big game. I'm sorry. So fingers crossed he could get the job done. By the way, if there's any Brentford fans, I forgot to mention, Brentford will be playing on Monday Night Football, 8:30 p.m. in the FA Cup, and we will know all the teams that will qualify for the FA Cup 5th round. So, just to round up the podcast with the top picks to watch outside England, yes, I will switch it up in terms of the players, but we want to make sure that we're still bringing you the most important Super Eagles players that we should be bringing to your radar. Starting with Victor Osimhen, of course. Galatasaray are top of the league, and they're playing yet another team that is hard to pronounce and nobody knows anything about in the name of Eyüpspor. Eyüpspor are just above the relegation zone. They're currently 15th out of 18 teams. This game will be played tomorrow, 6 p.m. Nigeria time. So hopefully we can see Osimhen put in his weekend work early on Friday and he can rest up for the weekend while Fenerbahce play Trabzonspor. And there's other big games involving all the other bigger teams in Turkey. I mean, what's the tail of the tape? Galatasaray, they need to win to keep the 3-point gap, which they have over Fenerbahce. And it's even more crucial because they know Fenerbahce are going away to play third place Trabzonspor. So if I was Galatasaray, this is our chance to press on our advantage and extend our lead by more than 3 points. Last year, they absolutely tore up the league. But this year, it looks like it's going to be much, much closer between Fenerbahce. Actually, that's a lie. Fenerbahce and Galatasaray went the distance. They both almost got 90 points. I'm sure Galatasaray got over 90 points. So we know how the tail of the tape usually goes. But Fenerbahce are yet to win the league title in a long, long time. So let's see what happens. Game expectations. Osimhen will start and score. It's as simple as that. We don't know if it'll be 1 or 2. But as long as he's playing these kind of opponents, any match where he does not score a goal is a shock and not the norm. So we expect him to get things done and at least get back to score. I mean, score again after scoring last week for his team. And I expect it to be, let's just say 3-0, 4-0. Now, speaking of top of the table clash in Turkey, as I just said, Trabzonspor, who of course have Polonwachu, Chibike Waiwu, and Antonio Akeme, will be in action at home against Fenerbahce, 6 p.m. on Saturday. Second place versus third place. Basically, win and stay in the title race, or lose and you're done for. We already know how Onuachu's been flying high, and he's currently the joint top goal scorer in the Turkish Super League with 15 goals, I believe. Now, Fenerbahce are only 3 points behind Galatasaray, while Trabzonspor are 4 points behind Fenerbahce. So Trabzonspor, to be honest, the onus is on them to win the match. They have to win the match to stay in contention for the title. I believe third place gets you a Europa League spot, but you still have to go through the qualifiers. That's because of how low the Turkish UEFA coefficients are, because they're ranked 9th. So Onuachu and Waiwu will definitely start in this game. And we'll see Nwakeme come off the bench. I'm fairly certain we'll see Onuachu score. Very similar when you're playing this kind of leagues. Anytime Onuachu doesn't score, it's a surprise. And I have to say that he just looks like a big bad bully against those defenders. Some of them are not even good enough to even handle him at all, apart from when he's playing one of the bigger teams, So I expect Trabzonspor to do their best to win this game, and I'll give them the edge, and I could see them winning this by 2-1, hopefully. So, and Onuachu to continue his goal-scoring ways. So that's it in terms of the Turkish league. Also, we will see in Serie A, Rafael Durosimi and Ebenezer Akisomiro's Pizza, who are 19th and with a real threat of being relegated. They have only one win of the season. But literally on Friday as well, tomorrow, 8:45 p.m. Nigeria time, they will be hosting the Rossoneri. So AC Milan come to play against them in Serie A. Milan are second in the league. They've got 8 points. They're 8 points behind Inter and 1 point above Napoli. So AC Milan really have to win this game to keep in touching distance to Inter Milan. That's just the honest facts. Pisa, on the other hand, we know they're 19th. They're just above Verona on a better goal difference. They are 6 points off safety, so they need to try and find a way to win. The honest truth is, no matter how much we love the Pisa boys, there is no way they're going to beat AC Milan. Allegri has AC Milan looking much better than they did last season, it must be said. So what is the best we could hope for is that Durosimi will start. We know Akinsomiro has lost his place after AFCON, but hopefully he'll get significant minutes in this game. And I'm hoping Pisa can at least keep the game close. So my prediction is for Durosimi to finally get his second Serie A goal, but they will lose by 2-1 or 3-1. They're going to lose, as much as it hurts me to say. So we'll see how that game goes. In Serie A as well, we will also see Gift Urban's Verona, who are bottom of the table, play Parma away. Parma are owned by Carlos Cuesta. So let's see what happened. Let's see what happens in terms of that match. Not owned, coached by Carlos Cuesta, the former Arsenal coach. Verona need to win this game as the bottom of the league. But as I keep reminding people, Gift Urban is the third highest goal scorer in Serie A. Yes, there's like 4 players who have 8 goals and like 7 players who have 7. But the truth is, apart from Lautaro Martinez, nobody has scored more than 1 Serie A goal than Gift Urban. And he plays for the worst team in the division. So he's clearly doing something right, you know. Palmer are 14th and closer to mid-table and 8 points above the relegation zone. But Verona need to find a win from somewhere. It's going to be really tricky. And honestly, I can't even see them winning unless Urban can get a massive, massive result for them and get back to scoring ways. He hasn't scored in 2 or 3 games now. He was unlucky in the last game out because he hit the post. But let's see if he could get back on the scoring sheet in the game on this game's on Sunday, 3 p.m. So let's see how that one goes. But I'm going to predict a 1-1. But hopefully we can see Verona do what they need to do in that match. Just to round up the previews before I touch on the comments, we will see in La Liga, Ako Adams and Ejuke Sevilla are in action against Alaves. Honestly, I'm a bit tired of talking about Sevilla because they're bloody useless. Such a mid-table disgrace to their history. Why are you Sevilla and you're 13th in the league? And you're about to play Deportivo Alaves, who are 14th. Fun fact, one of the first European finals I watched in 2021 was, 2001. Liverpool played Deportivo Alaves in the UEFA Cup. You know, that's how old we are and how long we're watching football. But that's quite interesting. Sevilla have not won in their last 2 games. They face Alaves, who are 1 place below them and literally just below them on goal difference. Both teams are 3 points above relegation zone, so they need to win. I cannot say with my chest I expect Sevilla to win, because they've been so disappointing in games you expect them to deliver. But I'm hoping that we know Adams will start, but can Adams get back to scoring goals? We know what we saw in AFCON. So hopefully, I just want to see him get back to scoring. And let's see what happens with Chira Ejike coming off the bench, because we know that's where not to be too harsh, but that's where he lives. And then finally, in terms of the previews, we have to get back to Ademola. Of course, he's playing Barcelona tonight at the Riyadh Air Metropolitano. It's actually not Wanda anymore. Forgive me. You know, Wanda is the Chinese company that bought the sponsorship rights. Now it's Riyadh Air, so Saudi money. So forgive me for just getting it wrong in the past. We'll see what happens with Lookman against Barcelona today. I think the confidence in that result will tell us a lot about how the game on Sunday will go. That will be 4:15 p.m. on Sunday. And the good news for Atletico is they're playing away against Rayo Vallecano, who are 18th and with a big, big threat of getting relegated. You know, Atletico know they need to bounce back. Let's see what happens tonight when they play Barcelona. But you cannot lose to Betis at home in the league. So whatever happens, regardless of what happens tonight, they need to get back to winning ways in the league. We know that Lookman will definitely start, as he continues to start every game for Atletico Madrid. But in the league, they're 12 points behind Real Madrid and 13 points behind Barcelona. So you have to say that the title race is done. But they need to make sure they consolidate third spot, you know, because they're level on points with Villarreal and Betis are only 7 points behind them in 5th spot. So we know Lookman will start, and by God's grace, he will finally open his La Liga goal scoring account. But before then, we hope that he scores his second goal for Atletico Madrid tonight when the game kicks off against Barcelona. So that's it in terms of the preview for the games involving our players. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you'll be keenly watching some of the games. Of course, I'll still get into the ones to watch so you know who our other players will be performing. Obviously, a select few over the weekend. We can't mention all of them. If not, you get bored. But just touch on some comments. Jackson says, who wins the highest goal scorer in Turkey between Victor and Paul? At this moment, it looks like it's going to be Paul Onuachu, it must be said. You know, he will bang in the goals. 2 years ago, I know he went to Trabzonspor on loan and scored almost 10 goals in a half a season. So Onuachu is not slowing down. And he's clearly the guy tasked with the sort of scoring all the goals for them. And we know that he's revered and respected among the whole team. So let's see what happens. But at the moment, you have to say Onuachu. But that's also because Osimhen has bigger fish to fry with the Champions League. Although I'm not sure I can see them getting past, is it Juventus, over the next 2 knockout games in the Champions League. But of course, we will get through all of that next week, and very, very exciting to watch. So I think Onuachu for now, but I think Osimhen has all the capabilities to run it up. He was the top goal scorer in the league last season. He even scored 39 goals in all competitions. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on a blitz, but he needs to start scoring more than 1 goal. I know that sounds very, very harsh. Like, he's scoring every game, but you need to match Paulo's numbers, please. You know, we'd love to see that. Aaron says, sorry if this is out of the blue. Nothing's ever out of the blue, my brother. Thanks for joining. He says, what the heck is going on with Nottingham Forest? Yes, do they want to get relegated? Yes, we spoke about them in the first part of the midweek review. So, Aaron, feel free to just rewind from the midweek review. But yeah, similar sentiment to me. I think teams have to be very careful what they wish for. This time last year, they were on course to make the Champions League. Yes, we know they faltered in the last 10 games and they ended up making the Conference League spot. They got so greedy. Marinakis then reported Palace for multi-club ownership, which meant that they got pushed into the Europa League. And the irony now is it looks like that is going to be the gift and curse for Nottingham Forest. Yes, they have European pedigree. They have 2 European Cups. But when you're a team that's struggling and battling relegation, because last season was a one-off or strange time for Nottingham Forest. Normally, they're always battling relegation. But when you have to couple that with trying to juggle a Europa League campaign where you have to play 8 league games, and potentially, if you get all the way to the final, you could literally play another 9 games. I think they're really seeing the effects of having too many games to play. So I really, really think Nottingham Forest are in big, big trouble, especially drawing at home to Wolverhampton tonight. That was an atrocious result, and they're only 3 points behind West Ham, who were this close to winning their 4th Prem game in 5 in a row until Shesko's equalizer. So I really, really think it's going to be a big, big struggle for Forest, and they need to get their shooting boots straight away. In fact, if I'm all I know, I'm talking to my agent. What can we do in the summer? Because it's really looking like squeaky bum time for them. But we know West Ham will still dip here or there. But the fact that West Ham have 3 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss in their last 5 would make me be very scared if I was a Nottingham Forest fan or player. So it's quite interesting to see what's happening there, Aaron, and we'll see what ends up happening. Jackson says AC Milan are doing well because they don't not in play in Europe. Yeah, we're very aware. They had a shocking season last year. But naturally, if you're a good team and you don't play in Europe, you always tend to do well in your league. Look at Man United this season. Look at Napoli last season as they romped to the Serie A title. Once they don't have Europe, we know it always plays a part, and things end up being positive for them. Jackson says, why do Nigerian players not go to top teams in Europe? What is going on? Is that a topic you need? That is a topic you need to discuss. Yeah, we've got on our radar. I think it's one we should do in the summer where we see where our players have ended up. Because this January transfer window, we've actually seen some good moves. Lookman especially. Tochiko Nadi's playing at Marseille. That one shocked me. We saw Sani Suleiman go to RB Leipzig. These are all top Champions League clubs, So let's wait and see what happens with Osimhen and some of our other players in the summer, and then we can make a judgment. But I do think it's a topic that needs to be explored. Some of our players clearly don't have the best agents. I don't want to see Rafael Yerika sign for a team that he's better, for a team that is better than in summer. That's one we're monitoring. Akko Adams, if Sevilla keep faltering, go somewhere else. We're keeping our eyes. Chukwueze, what's going to happen in the summer? Yes, Fulham look like a great deal for you, but you're a Europa League champion. Can you play for a better team? It's still the Prem. Let's see what happens there. There's so many players to see what they do. Onyeka, does he end up getting promoted and move with Coventry? It's still a relegated side, promoted side, so it doesn't exactly give us all the confidence. Bassey, he needs to start playing well again, but what's going to happen in the summer? So I think let's give it time to see what happens with these our players in the summer, and then we'll be able to give a full, well-rounded view, probably after the World Cup. But it's definitely a topic to talk about. And thanks for that comment. Aaron also said, I believe it's agents, man. They are chasing the bag. I agree. Because Arokodare moving to Wolves is a very, very terrible choice. And let's be honest, we were happy for him that he came to the Prem, but we all knew in our heart that, come on, you're signing for Wolves with no Cunha. What the hell are you doing? And Stan Larson was trying to force his way out. So that's a great conversation to talk about. Jackson also says, for Forest, I think the owner is a problem. We know that Marinakis is always a problem, and he's going to be a problem in the summer again. But hey, if they get relegated, certain players cannot stay in the championship. That's just the truth. Aina was almost in the team of the season last year. So with all due respect, he is not a player that should be playing in the championship. Aaron said Aina needs to leave. Yeah, let's see what happens in the summer. Shout out to you, Elias. Thanks for always joining and watching. Yes, bro. Hope you're doing well, enjoying the videos. Thank you so much for the support. I really, really appreciate it. So those are the games to watch not involving Nigerian the games to watch involving Nigerian players outside of the Premier League, which of course is having the FA Cup this weekend. Now to round up with the ones to watch before we have a quick 10 minutes if anyone wants to give their takes before we all go and watch the famous Arsenal. This one players I used to love back in the day. I was one of the Pepe soldiers, man. I used to love Pepe. I was so excited when he signed for Arsenal. Mind you, Pepe scored 16 goals in one season for Arsenal under Arteta. But the way people talk about Pepe's name, you think that never happened. But yeah, Pepe we here, man. Good to see him doing well in Villarreal always. I used to love him so much. But anyway, what's to watch for this weekend? Starting tomorrow, as we just previewed, you see Victor Osimhen is playing tomorrow. All the times I mentioned are Nigeria time, by the way, Nigerian time. Don't worry, by the time April comes, we will be on the same time difference between London and Lagos. So looking forward to that time. But we'll see Victor Osimhen's Galatasaray play against Ayub Sport tomorrow, 6 p.m. Nigeria time. Then we've got the Pizza Boys, Ebenezer Akisomiri and Rafael Durosimi. I keep telling guys, watch out for Rafael Durosimi. He's coming. You know, they play AC Milan at home at 8:45 p.m. tomorrow. And then on Saturday, we'll see Felix Agu, who's now back from injury. Let's see if he can force his way back in the starting line of Werder Bremen. They host Bayern Munich, who, of course, are praying after dismantling Hoffenheim 5-1. Luis Diaz, I will never understand why Liverpool let you go. Very, very stupid decision, I'm telling you. But Bayern Munich are coming to town, and that game will be played at 3:30 p.m. As for Hamburg, we'll see Filippo Telle, fresh off getting an assist on his debut, as well as Jordan Torunariga. They will be in action at home against Union Berlin. That's been an exciting game. 3:30 p.m. Nigeria time. We will then see Tochukwu Nadi hopefully make his debut for Marseille against Strasbourg, 5 p.m. Just to mention about Marseille, by the way, as we always expect Roberto De Zerbi, he has left Marseille by mutual consent. De Zerbi will always cause a problem, no matter the club. So hopefully, let's pray that whoever Marseille replace him with is a fan of Tochukwu Nadi and he can do what he needs to do in terms of getting into the good books of the new manager. So let's see if he ends up making his debut or if he's in the squad for the game on Saturday. Ademola, yes, you could call in. I've just added the link for anybody to call in quickly just before Arsenal starts. Just before I continue, I want to say a big, big thank you to Aaron. Thank you so much for the super chat. God bless you. May your cup never run dry. You're blessed and let everything that you desire over the next year and beyond come to fruition in Jesus' name. I really appreciate it. Jackson, God bless you. Thank you so much for being a member and for the super sticker. God bless you. May your cup never run dry. Your family is blessed in Jesus' name. Or whatever religion you are, we don't discriminate. Inshallah, God bless everybody. Aaron said, hearing news about Marseille wanting Eric Shell. I heard that rumor as well, but honestly, guys, I am hoping it is big cap because we do not need to lose Eric Shell. In fact, this is what pisses me off about that Ibrahim Gusau that with no foresight. Do you see his interview saying, oh, he's under contract, so we'll discuss. There's nothing to discuss right now, but we'll discuss in the future. Bro, is it that you don't watch football or you're just trying to be obtuse? If a manager is in demand based on how he's performed for you, and he now has an elevated status in football, you renegotiate the contract. We know because NFF are so broke and they're waiting for government allowance. Because I watched that Gusau interview. Go and watch the interview transcription I did on him in December. That man cannot think out of the box. So he's there saying, no, there's nothing to negotiate. There's nothing to do. I was thinking to myself, that's very, very stupid. Like, better go and renegotiate that contract and sign him up to 2030. Go and find some private investor to pay his salary. Because you, Gusau, when he now leaves to go somewhere else now, you start complaining that it's not our fault. We did our best. But you're here giving us news that there's no need to renegotiate the contract. Let me just keep calm. It's Arsenal they're about to play. Thank you, Aaron. As you said, even Thomas Tuchel, before going to the World Cup, England have renewed his contract to the European Championships 2028, which the UK will host. Even though I do believe that this could be two double-edged sword for England, because we know what happened the last time they did this nonsense, where they gave a manager a contract extension before a tournament. Fabio Capello in 2010, and we all know what happened to England in that tournament. They needed a goal by Jermaine Defoe against Slovenia in their final group stage game to even make it to the round of 16. And then we remember the Lampard ghost goal, where Germany absolutely tore them apart 4-1. Thomas Müller was running riot. Ozil, Müller, you remember, closer. So anyway, good luck to England. But the point is, whatever Gusau was saying, you could tell that this man, he's not giving us enough evidence to show that he's even learning. Because I thought that was a ridiculous statement. At the very least, say he's under contract, and ideally we would not like to renegotiate terms, but we're aware about the interest in our manager based on his success with our national team. So we'll have a conversation and make sure that we can reach a deal, or at least have conversations that can satisfy both parties. How hard was that, guys? How hard was that to say? So interesting. So hopefully we'll see Eric Shell chill. Elias, just go back and watch the rest of this show. I spoke about Kali Chukwuemeka already, but just to summarize, good luck to him. He's not done enough in his club career for us to be upset that we're losing him. He's still on the bench for Borussia Dortmund. He's only 22 years old, so I think it's quite short-sighted trying to move to Austria. This is their first World Cup in 28 years, and it's not like they're a country that ever make it out of group stages. I think they've played 1 or 2 Euros in the past 4 or 5, and this is their first World Cup in 28 years. So really and truly, unless he feels that's beholden by Austria, which I cannot understand. You know, I mean, David Alaba is literally going to play his first World Cup by the time he's about to retire this summer or close to retirement. So I think it's short-sighted, but each their own. I mean, to be honest, the moment I heard him call himself Kanye, I was already looking there. Who's this one trying to give himself Jaden? It really annoys me. It's a pet peeve of mine when they have to come interesting names. So let's see what happens anyway. So that's good to say. Aaron, you could say he doesn't have to worry about being paid, but like I always like to stress, players are contracted to their clubs. Their clubs pay their salary. Yes, you should be paid your allowance for going to your national team, but let's stop making it seem like these players earn their money, like their international careers are what pay them. Unless it's the women's game where you have designated contracts or central contracts with the U.S. women's national team, which is now changing with the whole rise of the WSL and the NWSL. So I always take that point. Yes, he may have better pitches in Austria. We're not doubting that. But with all due respect, it's Austria. No disrespect to anybody. I know the country's fine. I heard Vienna is beautiful. But football-wise, come on. This is one country that we can say with confidence we have a much bigger pedigree than them. So it is what it is. Anyway, so that's it for the comments. Let me allow the people to come and give their chat. But just to finalize on the ones to watch, Trabzon Sport on Saturday will play Fenerbahce, as I just said and previewed, 6 p.m. on Wachu, Waiwu, and Wakeme. Fisayo Dele-Bashiru's Lazio will play Atalanta 6 p.m. in the league, which is ironic because they're also going to play the same opponents in the Coppa Italia semi-finals. The Sevilla boys, Uche and Adams, will be playing Deportivo Alaves 6:30 p.m. on Saturday. So make sure you watch that. I know La Liga is on Super Sports in Nigeria. It's in London that we have to be finding interesting ways to watch the game, if you know what I'm saying. And then Moses Simon, can he finally at least put in a good performance or score a goal or assist, since he likes to play for these mid or lower table sides? We'll see what happens to him when he plays against Lens, who are second in the French league. And then on Sunday, we'll see Marco Okoye's Udinese play against Sassuolo at home, 12:30 p.m. Nigeria time. And then we've got a bunch of FA Cup games. Brightside Samuel's Birmingham hosting Leeds United at St. Andrews, 1 p.m. Arokodare's Wolves going away to Grimsby, 2:30 p.m. in Nigeria time. And then the Fulham boys, Bassey, Chukwueze, Iwobi, go away to Stoke. That will be 3 p.m. on Sunday. Gift Urbans, Verona go away to play Parma. And then we'll see Ademola Lookman's Atletico Madrid go away to play Rayo Vallecano. And finally, we'll see Omar Sadiq's Valencia go away to play Levante as they look to get back to winning ways. So that's it in terms of the ones to watch in terms of the Nigerian players for this weekend. I hope everybody enjoys all the football and enjoys all the games. Looking forward to the Arsenal game starting in 8 minutes. So just to round up, I'd love to get our esteemed member Jackson on to give his quick takes. I'll give it at 3 minutes so we can let Sheil come on and give his takes as well for 2-3 minutes. And then we'll round up the podcast and everybody can enjoy some serious Arsenal football. Where has Jackson gone? Okay, we'll have Sheil on. Jackson, I'm not sure what happened. Hopefully he could get back on. Let's just get your takes. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm fine, bro. Good evening. How are you doing today?
Good evening. I'm excited. I need Arsenal to win today. That's all that matters to me. But
first of all, I'm the world champion, so I don't. I won every trophy. I won every trophy in the world. So that's not what's time me.
No problem.
On a lighter note, on about Chukwueze Kani, I don't really feel him. He's struggling in Chelsea, he's struggling in Dortmund. And go to Australia to play. He was born in Australia, so I don't care. Bye-bye to him. Good luck to him. Go and play with the Kadimeletio, Kebedokolo over there. No problem. My concern, you can get Italian to play for Nigeria. That better for me. Can't you go away? I don't care about him. Go and sit down. Talking about the NFL president. Are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear.
NFL president, that man is a joke.
Oh, tell me about it.
If you understand football, anybody can buy. They can buy a contract. They just pay NFL some competition, and they've signed young man. That's the end of the issue. They just say, let's pay a competition. When Chelsea want to sign Graham Potter, They pay Brighton money just for competition. So it doesn't know football
Exactly.
at all. That shows how Nigerian NFA president I'm sorry, it's a dumb. I'm sorry to say that they don't understand football at all. So you go and sit down about that. About Nigerian player playing in big clubs, I think they get a better agent. Agent is key. Agent is very key in the football. If they get better agent, can get the move. That's fine. So let go and watch after as you draw after we draw today. They draw against them.
Thank you so much, Shewa. I appreciate the comments. Much love. And Arsenal are not going to draw. We rebuke it in Jesus' name. Much love and enjoy the game. All right, Jackson, take us home. Get me lit for this game. Much love.
Well
Good to
done.
see you again,
Well
Jackson.
done.
How are you, my bro?
That's work.
Good, thank you. Good, thank you. How are you? How's the family?
Family plan, family plan. I look at Shewa and I laugh and I wonder what cup that they won that we didn't know how everybody qualified. You won a trophy 4 years ago and they say you qualified for a tournament.
You
You
know.
can not to FIFA and the rest. The best team did not qualify. The best team in the league did not qualify and they are winning the tournament. Anyway, they will
I
put it on
mean,
themselves.
I agree with you, but I don't want to ruffle the feathers now. I just want us to win this our match so everybody can keep quiet.
It goes back to 6 points. Yeah, so based on what we've discussed this evening, I think NFF so they should have still remained as NFA. So we will know it is no future ambition. They should
Association,
have
I mean,
stayed that there's no future ambition. They should have stayed that way. Because they changed the NFF and nothing changed. As
I
in those
agree,
guys are
man.
very joke. Now you can't we don't even know if they paid the coach's salary.
Oh, we know
There's
they
a
have
room
it. We know they have it, of course. That one we can
so
say
so,
with certainty.
there's a rumor going on. But all the same, we just hope we can keep him the way the Westerhoff stayed. I remember growing up, my dad used to talk about Westerhoff, one of our best foreign coaches.
Same.
Yeah. So he had a lot of time with the boys. Yeah, especially in fact one of the people that made our Nigerian league better was Clement Westerhoff. And he helped our
Absolutely.
players come out. Yeah, so he talks about them a lot. So I think if we can keep Eric for 4 years, he should be able to give us the Nations Cup, and at least take us to the second round or third round of the World Cup. Quarter final of the World Cup.
I
I
agree.
think
Give him time like Geno Rowe. Give him time like Geno Rowe. But of course,
yeah,
we must pay him because Eric Shell's not
just
going to stand around and not be paid. So
yeah,
let's see.
just the way them played with what's his name again? I want them to World Cup. I've forgotten his name.
Joachim Low. Joachim Low.
Yeah, even when they were doing badly, they
They stuck
stuck
with
with
him.
him.
Yep.
Yeah, took them to the World Cup. They lost in the final. They won it. They had a terrible Euro. They had a terrible World Cup again, and they still stayed with him till they changed. So I think we should
And
give
I
him. We
think
should
at the
just
basic level, we want to watch Eric Shell go through a whole World Cup cycle himself, or at least
yeah,
let one manager prosecute all of the World Cup. Because even
not,
though it seems so far away, we're gonna have World Cup qualifiers starting September next year. So
yeah,
it comes back very
not
quickly. So I'm
very quickly. And
hoping
then
that we can keep him and pay him because he's not gonna stand around without being paid. So that'll be an interesting one to monitor.
our
By the
players.
way, just for what you said on Westerhoff, let me just educate the people. There is a documentary on Prime Video called Super Eagles 96. I urge everybody to watch it. Those are the kind of things that we want to make sure that we continue to see in our national team, in terms of portraying the past and showing the kind of things that have happened in our past. I urge everybody who's not seen it to go and watch it. It's a fantastic documentary and the kind of things that we need to produce much more of. And by God's grace, we'll get there one day. So I just wanted to let the people know in case they're not aware. Okay. So take us home,
Yeah,
Jackson.
so I think we'll 3-0 today. That's my big guess. I hope we get three
Amen.
more goals. We
Amen.
extend the goal. Even if goal difference has won people the league, so we need goals and concede less. Yeah, so I
All
think
right,
we're
so
getting
Ed,
the
you have
three.
to give me your scorers. You can't just say 3-0. Let's go and watch this match. Give me your
Uh,
scorers.
Saka is not starting.
It's not
Yeah,
no.
he's not. No, he's not starting. Jokeris should get one. Then the midfield should share the rest. I'm banking on him
Zubi
to
and
get
Co,
one.
Abi.
Yes, they should share the
Jackson, wasn't it you that said you want Eze to play well? I would love to see an Eze go. Like, he has not scored since
and
North London Derby. Like, what's happening?
And he has not been giving us the best of easy, the big part performance. Hopefully,
I
he plays
agree.
well.
I agree.
Yeah, but he's
I
choosing
agree.
Nigeria over England because if he has a terrible Arsenal season, he's not going to go to the World Cup.
Oh, that one, I'm sure even him, he knows. I don't know if you heard on one of my recordings. I ran into Eze in the summer before he signed for Arsenal. And I told him with my mouth, this is my big mouth, I told him you were supposed to be the JJ Okocha. And he just laughed. Because that's the truth. Now he's fighting for a spot under a colonizer that will never love you like that. But you know what?
Yeah.
We move on. Hopefully, Nwaneri is watching his fellow Arsenal boys and seeing go where I loved. So let's see what happens in the game. But thank you so much, Jackson. Let's go and watch the match. But I want to say a big thank you to you for always supporting, always watching, always jumping on the lives, always giving your takes. It's much appreciated. And shout out to everybody as well. God bless you all.
Can't wait for the 18th. Can't wait for the 18th. On the 18th,
I'm looking forward to that. Okay, maybe that's Jackson's internet turning to watch the match. We will be there on the 18th against Wolves for sure. So looking forward to the membership live stream, and then we'll all curate that, and everybody can help in curating that. That's a member. So thank you so much, Jackson, and we do not take it for granted over here. So shout out to you and everybody.
Thanks for having me on.
Shout out to you, Jackson. Let's enjoy the match. Okay, brothers, thanks to everybody for joining the live stream. I also am open to your feedback if you prefer the shorter streams. Obviously, 3 hours. Sometimes it may happen when there's a big Nigeria game, or like if this Congo decision happens now. I'm sure everybody want to jump on the live stream, but let me know your thoughts, your feedback. I want to keep it concise. Please join as a member today if you like to support us additionally, apart from subscribing. Do not worry, nothing changes if you're a subscriber. We appreciate you and you're doing a lot. We're now on the road to 20K subs, which I just want to point out right below here. So please help us if you're watching this. If you've not yet liked the video, please like the video. I'm sure you saw my poll. Please join us on the road to 20K subs, share the love, and join as a member today. Like I said, we'll be having membership live stream once a week, and there's also the opportunity for early access content for members. You also have the opportunity to vote on members-only polls to help us in terms of how we shape the content. And we are now officially live with the NigeriaFootballWeekly.com website. So go check out and let me know your thoughts. We continue to update it. Enjoy the football. I am going for a 2-1 Arsenal win. I think Thiago may score, but I'm hoping that Iberi Chieze can really play like a king tonight, like his name suggests. And then I wouldn't mind a Gyökeres goal, but to be honest, I'd like to see a goal from Trossard as well. You know, he's done so much good work for Arsenal this season that I want to see him get back on the goals. So that's my prediction. Hopefully, on Monday's live stream, it will be positive news because Arsenal have won tonight, and we've also won in the FA Cup game against Wigan on Sunday. But if you do not support Arsenal, I wish your teams well since it's the FA Cup. We shall all meet again in the league. Enjoy the football and keep an eye on Lookman's performance against Barcelona. Much love for all the support and for always watching and always subscribing. Shout out to everybody. Enjoy the football, and I'll see you guys on Monday's episode. Take care. Ciao, ciao, and peace out.